Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the free legal advice show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, the free legal advice show provides you, our viewers, the opportunity to call in and ask us any questions that you have on any aspect of English law. On this show, I'm able to cover a vast, diverse range of matters. Matters ranging from immigration law matters, family law matters, criminal law matters. So whatever your legal questions are, please feel free to get in touch. Two ways you can get in touch. You can ring on the landline number, which appears at the bottom of the screen, and you can speak to me live on air. Alternatively, another very popular way of getting in touch is to send us a message on the mobile number, which also appears at the bottom of the screen. So the landline number to speak to me live on air and the mobile number to send us a message, WhatsApp message. I can have a look at your message here live in the studio and I can give you advice in relation to your query. On this show, we get numerous questions on immigration law, which is fantastic. Please do keep on sending those questions in. Fantastic. But as I've said, I can deal with other legal issues that you might want advice on. Family law matters, criminal law matters, personal injury law matters. So whatever your legal questions are, please do get in touch either by giving us a ring or sending us a message on the mobile number, which is there at the bottom of the screen. Now, as always, we have questions that have been sent in by our viewers. Fantastic questions coming in on immigration law, even before we've come on. So I'll look at some of the questions which have come in already, but do keep on sending your questions in. Now, one of the questions that's come in regarding a visa application. So it's an immigration law question regarding a visa application. It's a fairly straightforward question. What our viewer is asking is as follows. I want to apply for a visa. Can I do that from Pakistan or should I do that in the United Kingdom? And how long does it take? Okay, interesting question. Now, anybody who's gone through this system will know the applications that you now do are online applications. So in terms of completing the form, submitting the form, it doesn't really matter where you are. You can be in the UK or you can be abroad, in this case, Pakistan, and you can do the online form wherever you are. You can do the submission payments wherever you are. So it doesn't, in one sense, from a practical point of view, it doesn't make a difference where you are. As long as you're able to log into your form, complete the form, make the submission, make the online payment. So it doesn't matter where you apply from. There is an issue about expertise. You do want to go to an experienced lawyer, and that's why I would suggest you're better off speaking to a UK lawyer about UK immigration law matters. Fantastic question. Thank you very much for that. We've got a caller who's been waiting for a while. Let's go to our first caller. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Ji walaikum salam. Thank you for calling.
So you gave me a very good advice regarding inviting my mother from my back home.
Right.
Because we are on universal credit.
Okay.
But I did manage to save some money from my work money.
Okay.
Where I work. So it's around 2,000, almost £400.
Fantastic.
So it's not exactly 2,500.
Right. Okay.
But would it work? Still it work?
That should work. What's the rough cost of the airline ticket to the UK and back again? Just a rough idea.
Around 500 to 600 return ticket.
That's fine. And in terms of how long the person would be coming to the UK for, do you have a rough idea how long it's going to be?
Maybe a week or 2 weeks.
In which case, £2,400 would be more than enough. Because if you look at the cost of that trip, if the ticket is around 500 and somebody's staying with you for a week, I mean, realistically, what's that going to cost? A couple £100 extra cost in terms of living expenses. Yeah. So, you know, savings in the region of £2,500 should not be a problem at all. So you've got employment, bit of universal credit coming in, and you've got savings of about £2,400. From your end, I can't see a problem.
So wouldn't the question, like, if I could save 2,400 in 2 months.
Mhm.
I mean, Home Office, I mean, they don't mind or they don't question.
So they won't question your sponsorship. Okay.
All right.
You do normally need to provide 3 months of bank statements, 3 months of wage slips. So they don't
Or
just look at,
3 month statement.
ideally, you should be providing 3 months.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
I understand.
Now,
Yeah.
the only time you have a problem sometimes is, let's say 3 months ago. So we're in July now. So let's say in April, your balance was
Yeah.
zero or it was
Yeah.
overdrawn, right? In April.
Yeah.
And now we're in July, 3 months down the line. And now you've got £3,000 in your bank account. Sometimes they do say, you know what, 3 months ago you had no money, so we're not sure about your financial circumstances. But if I then compare that to a situation, let's say in April you had about £1,000, £1,200, and now 3 months down the line in July you've got £2,500. That doesn't look too bad. It's only where in those 3 months the starting balance has been very low or it's overdrawn. That could cause a problem.
Okay. I understand. Yeah.
But other than that, I can't see a problem your end. So you will submit a copy of your passport, partner's passport, 3 months wage slips, 3 months bank statements, universal credit statement confirming how much money you get, proof of your accommodation. So that might be a tenancy agreement, that might be deeds to your property. So you do need to provide all that when you do either the sponsorship letter or the sponsorship declaration. Those are the supporting documents you need to provide.
All right. Okay. All right. And not just the amount where I'm getting my pay salary, the other account which does show like how much universal credit I'm getting.
That's fine. So there's no problem. You can show that as well, that this is the employment income, this is the universal credit that's coming in. So that shows the financial picture, that there is quite a bit of money coming in, hopefully.
All right. Okay. So showing the bank statement where the universal credit money coming, so it gives strength to my case.
It does, because what it shows is it shows more money coming in.
All right. Okay.
So that's not a problem. They won't say, oh, you rely on public funds yourself, so how can you support somebody else? They won't say that as long as you've got savings. So, you know, the form that they fill in, the online form, it'll say, what's going to be the cost of the trip? And they're going to say the cost of the trip is going to be about £800, £400 for the tickets, or £500 for the tickets, a couple £100 for my living expenses. So in the form, they will say, this is the cost of the trip. Who is paying for the trip? Then say, my sponsor is inviting me. My sponsor will pay for everything. And obviously, you're the sponsor, your supporting documents and your letter will confirm that you've got this income and you've got savings of about £2,500. So you're able to cover the cost of the trip, £800, £900, whatever it is, you're able to cover that. So from your end, there shouldn't be a problem.
All right. Okay. So, like I said, in 2 months, I saved nearly 2,400.
Okay.
So, with the next month would be a completed 3 month, and obviously I would have exactly £2,500 easily
Fine.
for savings. So,
Yeah.
then I should apply then.
Yeah. From your end, I can't see a problem. So they won't have any concerns about your sponsorship if that's the money you've got saved.
All right. Okay.
Shouldn't be a problem your end. Obviously, the problem with visitor applications is that they look at the visitor's circumstances.
Yeah.
That's where the problem always is. So, but we need to make sure there's no problem our end. So our documents, our sponsorship is okay. And if you've got savings of about £2,500, you're going to be okay from your sides. The issue always is then, what is the visitor's circumstances like? So what family do they have? What income do they have? What savings do they have? What assets do they have? What are their ties to their home country? There's a bit of work that needs to be done on that to strengthen the application.
All right. Okay. That's fine. I understand. Yeah.
It's okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much for your call. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thanks very much, sir.
No problem at all. Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your call. Walaikum salam. Interesting question on visitor applications. I think what we did find after the COVID restrictions were lifted were, even in practice, we were getting so many questions on visitor applications. How do you sponsor a visitor to the United Kingdom? What documents do you need to get ready? And crucially, also, what documents does the visitor need to get ready to make a successful application? So it's all, after the COVID restrictions were removed, people were able to travel more freely without PCR tests, etc. I think you had an influx in practice. All lawyers had an influx within their practice of visitor queries. So a lot of applications have gone in. Hopefully, over the last few weeks, we've gone through this topic, and hopefully the guidance that we've discussed will assist you in your application. Right. Got another interesting question that's come in. Looks like it's an immigration question. Let's have a quick look at the questions. It may well be that we're going to have to answer it after we come back from our break, but let's have a quick look. The question says, Assalamu alaikum, came to the United Kingdom in November as an 8-year-old as the dependent of my parents. Got an extension to 2011. When we applied for indefinite leave to remain, it was rejected. We appealed, but that was dismissed. And then we overstayed up until 2020. I got a 2.5-year leave to remain visa based on private life. With the new rules and concession, am I able to get indefinite leave to remain in August when I apply for an extension? So interesting question. It's to do with the new rules which have come in. So the question is in relation to somebody who came to the UK as an 8-year-old, has got various visas, so has been in the UK for a while now. Interesting question. We're going to be going for a short break, so I'll have a quick look at the question properly. And when we come back from our break, we can have a look at what the best practical steps are that can be taken in this situation. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you then. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the free legal advice show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. And as always, a very popular way to get in touch is to send us a message on the mobile number which also appears there at the bottom of the screen. Now, interesting question that we received just before the break, and I've had a quick look at the rules as well whilst we were on our break. So basically what it boils down to is somebody who is over the age of 18 but under the age of 25 who spent half their life in the UK, can they apply for indefinite leave to remain early? That's really the question. Now, I've had a quick look at the new changes that came in June 2022. My understanding is that you wouldn't be eligible for indefinite leave to remain early. You would have to apply for a 2.5-year visa. And I know you've said there that you were granted a 2.5-year visa in 2020. That's the impression I get from looking at the question. I'm not entirely clear, but it looks like leave to remain was granted in 2020. So your first 2.5 years are going to be completed in this year, probably summertime or end of 2022. You would have to apply for an extension of that visa. You wouldn't be eligible for indefinite leave to remain. Now, there is more flexibility for those who are under the age of 18. So somebody born in the United Kingdom, overstayer, born in the United Kingdom, would at the age of 7 potentially be eligible for indefinite leave to remain. The problem is you fall into the category of 18 to 25. You've completed 2.5 years. You're going to have to apply for an extension now or whenever your current visa expires. You wouldn't qualify for indefinite leave to remain. Now, hope that answers your question. If there's another issue that you want to address, please do come back to me. But I've had a look at your question. I've had a look at the rules during the break. Your you would be eligible, obviously, for an extension, but it would be an extension at this stage. It wouldn't be indefinite leave to remain. Hope that answers your question. Now, as always, to speak to us live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, that mobile number is there to send us a message. But please do keep on sending those questions in. Now, the next question that's come in is also an immigration law question, and it's to do with nationality. Always a popular topic. And the question is as follows. It's a nationality question. Assalamu alaikum. I wish to apply for British nationality. Please could you clarify, do you need to wait 1 year after you obtain indefinite leave to remain, or can I make an application straight away for British nationality? I am confused. I have had mixed messages, mixed advice on this. Now, again, this is a topic that we've covered a number of times before on our show. Nationality is the last stage of the immigration journey. When it comes to the UK with entry clearance, you extend your visa, you apply for indefinite leave to remain. Obviously, at that stage, you're looking at whether you qualify for nationality or not. And regularly you're asked, can I apply for nationality straight away? I've got my indefinite leave to remain. Now, there are obviously a number of different requirements which need to be fulfilled when you apply for British nationality. However, in relation to your specific question, can you apply straight away or do you need to wait? It depends on the status of your partner. And I'll go into that in a lot more detail, but we do have another caller waiting. So let's go to our next call first. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Ji, bhai, thank you for calling.
Okay.
Brother, you're live on air. What's your question?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam.
But I am in the UK on the spouse visa right now,
Okay.
and I want to apply for the extension.
I understand.
And it's my 5-year route here.
Okay.
And the visa extension is the visa is going to expire on 28th of September right now.
Okay.
So we check on the website. So we want to just ask you, do we need to just hire the solicitor to do our case? Or we can just apply by the online?
Okay.
And the first time I just applied for the visa, so we submitted documents for lots of documents because I was in Pakistan, my wife, she was here.
Okay.
And we submit lots of the documents like a story, and we made a story and we print out and we submit it. So do we need to submit again?
No.
And or we just submit our bank statement and the house documents and this type of the things?
Yeah. Completely understand where you're coming from. It is a much simpler application, this one. So, you know, what you submitted before, call history, chat history, you need none of that this time. Now, do you need a solicitor or not? If your case is straightforward and you're comfortable doing the application, then by all means, you can do it yourself if it's a straightforward case. There are two, three things you need to be aware of. The first is finances. You've got to get your finances right? If your finances are fine, my personal view is that it is possible actually to do it yourself. So just on your finances, brother, are you employed or self-employed at the moment?
No, I'm employed.
Okay. And how long have you been employed for with this current employer?
Yeah, it's been a lot. I just employed with this company last year in the March. Yeah,
Okay.
I started with this company. Yeah.
Okay. So by the time you apply, it'll be 6 months or more. Yep.
Yeah, it's more than a year.
Fantastic. And in terms of your income, just roughly how much is it? Is it above 18,600 a year?
Yeah, it's above.
Right. Okay. Look, on that front, it seems fairly straightforward because all you would be doing is submitting an employment letter, which you obtain from your employer at the time of the application, not more than 28 days old. 6 months of wage slips up to date, 6 months of bank statements up to date showing your 6 monthly income. So That's the tricky bit. But because your employment is straightforward, and assuming it stays that way, I can't see a problem if you wanted to apply yourself.
Okay, so and there's only 28 days. I can just apply before the 28 days.
You can apply earlier, actually. Now, what you can do is, if you want to, you can count the time from when you came to the UK. So when did you come to the UK?
I come here in the 29th of December 2019.
Okay, so as soon as you complete your 2.5 years, you can apply.
It's all right.
You've completed your 2.5 years, you can apply. You have a choice. You apply now or you apply prior to the expiry of your current visa.
Thank you very much. And the next question is because I want to just, bring my parents here. So when I can bring my parents here, after my British citizen, or I can bring now?
You can do it now. You can
do it now.
Sponsor your parents on a visitor visa. You can sponsor your parents now on a visitor visa. The only thing I would say is if you sponsor your parents on a visitor visa, you would include your documents, partner's documents as well. So you'd show your status, partner status, your income, if partner's working, her income, bank statements, and evidence of accommodation. But there's no requirement for you to have obtained British citizenship or indefinite leave to remain before you're able to sponsor your parents. You can do it now. It's not a problem.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you very much for your call.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. A very common question that arises is this issue about when can we apply. Sometimes, people go onto government website, etc. And there's a lot of reference to you can apply 28 days before. Some people think you must apply 28 days before. If you apply 25 days before, you're late. Some people think you can't apply prior to 28 days before the visa expiry date. It's not actually that straightforward. I mean, generally speaking, the last date on which you can apply is the date your visa expires, but I wouldn't recommend that you leave it that late. What you can, however, do is in certain circumstances apply much earlier. So in this case, our viewer was saying that he came to the United Kingdom in December 2019. So by now, by June 2022, he'd already completed 2.5 years. So if he wanted to apply for an extension, he could apply now. Alternatively, he could wait until the end of the visa or the last day of the visa to apply for the extension. So there's a bit of flexibility there in terms of when you submit the application. But and in answer to the question, can you do it yourself? If it's straightforward, yes, you can do it yourself. Obviously, if it's not straightforward, then I would very strongly recommend that you do seek advice from an immigration lawyer, somebody who's experienced in dealing with the application, which is similar to yours. Hope that answers you. Right, just going back to the question that we had just before I took that call, which is to do with how soon after you get indefinite leave to remain can you apply for British nationality? And as I said before, it's a very common question. And assuming all the other requirements are met, the answer to that really turns on not you, the applicant, but the status of your husband or wife. If you're married to a British citizen, then potentially you're able to apply straight away for British nationality, assuming all the other requirements are met. If you are not married to a British citizen, so your partner may be somebody with leave to remain, maybe somebody who has indefinite leave to remain, but not a British passport. So if your partner doesn't have a British passport, you will have to wait 1 year before you can apply for British nationality. So in terms of when you apply, that depends on the nationality of your partner, not on your own status as such. Now, as I kept on saying, that's you can apply assuming all the other requirements for nationality are met, and there are various requirements relating to absences, relating to overstaying, relating to criminality, etc. Those requirements would obviously have to be fulfilled as well. That takes us to the next break. Inshallah, we'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you then. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the free legal advice show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, a popular way of getting in touch is to send us a message on the mobile number which is also there at the bottom of the screen. Mashallah, we've had a number of questions coming in on our WhatsApp. Please do continue to send your questions in. It's always good to hear from you, so please do pick up the phone and give us a ring, and we can speak live on air as well. Okay, let's look at the next question that's come in, and that relates to an immigration matter, a spouse application, and something that actually does come up quite regularly in practice as well. So let's look at the question that's come in and let's explore what the options are. Assalamu alaikum. My daughter wishes to apply for a spouse application for her husband. She has been employed for more than 6 months. However, her salary hasn't remained the same throughout. We've had absences when we've been abroad, and which has affected her salary. Can she still apply for her spouse's visa? Okay, so spouse application for the daughter. So the employment, in terms of length of the employment, that's fine. The daughter who's going to be the sponsor has been employed for more than 6 months. So that's a good starting point. The issue which has concerned our viewer is the fact that the salary hasn't remained constant throughout the 6 months. And what our viewer says is that due to absences when they've been to Pakistan, the salary has dipped. And that's what's causing the concern. Can you still apply? Can she still sponsor her spouse when the salary dipped whilst they were in Pakistan, and then obviously it's gone back up again when they've returned, I'm assuming. So interesting question. You do need to be very careful, and this is something that I keep on going on about with a lot of these applications, whether it's a spouse application from abroad, whether it's an extension application, whether it's indefinite leave to remain. Finances normally is the biggest issue. You have to get the financial part of the application right. And it's right for our viewer to raise this as an issue. Finances is the main issue with the vast majority of applications. So, on finances, what happens when the income dips? Well, that really does depend on the type of employment that your daughter has. There are two different types of employment, generally. One is salaried employment, the other is non-salaried employment. Salaried employment is where somebody is on a fixed salary. Typically, somebody who works in an office may be on a salary of £20,000 a year. It's fixed. You work a certain number of hours, you get your £20,000 a year. So it's fixed salaried employment. With that kind of employment, you do need to be more careful. With that kind of employment, you can't have a situation where the salary dips in any month, because if it does, you won't be able to meet the financial requirement. So you need to be very careful indeed on that. The problem is where your salary dips, and let's say your gross pay normally is £1,600 a month, because you've gone abroad, you've taken leave. Some of it may have been unpaid leave, which has resulted in income dropping. So instead of earning £1,600 gross per month, in that particular month, when you've taken unpaid leave, your income's dropped from 1,600 to, let's say, £1,400. Now, in that situation, where you're on a fixed salary and your income's dropped, the Home Office will look at your lowest salary in the 6 months. So they won't average things out. They won't look at the fact that, oh, you've been on a 1,600 a month salary, and that's what we'll look at. We'll ignore that month. We'll look at an extra month. They won't do that. They will look at your lowest salary in the 6 months. And if it's the case that it's as in the example that I've given, it's £1,400, they will consider that to be your salary. So simply looking at that in very simple terms, if it's £1,400 a month, if you multiply that by 12, you don't get your £18,600. So you're right to raise this as a question. You do need to be very careful indeed, where if you're on a fixed salary and your income dips, you need to be careful that you don't make the application when you've got a bad month in there. So if that's the case, you do need to speak to an immigration lawyer about that. Now, contrast that with a situation where you're not on a fixed salary. You're on non-salaried employment. So your income is based on the hours that you work. So you have an hourly rate, etc. So let's say it's national minimum wage, £9.50, £9.60, whatever it is at the moment, or it might be higher. You might be on £10 an hour, £11 an hour. So let's say you're on that. If that's the case, the situation is much easier. You can simply add up the money you've received in the last 6 months. And as long as it gets to 9,300, so half of 18,600, you're fine. So the problem really arises where your employment is salaried employment. That's where the problem is. Where it's non-salaried employment, so your hourly rate, it's not a problem at all, because you're averaging your income. You're not looking at the lowest amount received in a particular month. You just basically add everything up. It gets to 9,300 and then you're okay. The beauty of non-salaried employment is if you've had a bad month, you try and get extra hours in, you try and get your overtime in, and as long as you do that, it brings your income up, and therefore it works. So that's the beauty of that it potentially means that you're not going to be penalized for that bad month. So interesting question, quite right to raise that as an issue. You need to be careful. If you're on salaried employment and you've had a bad month, it could result in you not being able to sponsor your partner on a visa to the United Kingdom. But thank you very much for that question. Okay. Let's look at the next question that's come in. But as I've said before, to speak to us live on air, you can ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. But as always, please do continue to send your messages in on the mobile number, which is also there at the bottom of the screen. So the next question that's come in relates to a visitor visa application. Understandable. The question really is relating to how you make a visitor visa application as strong as possible. Let me just read the question out. As-salams. I'm intending to sponsor my mother to come to the United Kingdom. My mum is in her late 60s. Is she likely to get a visa? How can we make her application stronger? What advice would you give? Interesting question. I will deal with that, but we've got a caller who's been waiting for a while. So let's take our next call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Can I speak with Mr. Ilyas?
It is Ilyas speaking. Bhai, you're live on air.
My name is Tahir. I want to ask a question regarding my case. Basically, I got a extension visa which is on my children. basically on the 10-year route.
Okay.
I listen about that. There's some changing regarding that you can move to 10-year route to 5-year route. One is my question is this, and another question is, can you explain me in that how many things required, what's the requirement for all these things which I need for this the case, because my visa finish on the 29th of September.
Okay.
So please explain me and give a detailed answer of this question, please.
Okay, so you're currently on the 10-year route at the moment, no?
Yeah, I am currently on the 10-year route.
Okay.
I got two visa, first time visa and then extension.
I understand.
So it's nearly 5 years in September.
So is your partner
and,
British?
I listened someone that maybe there's a changing of rules. So I have no idea. That's why I'm asking.
No problem. Is your partner British or not?
Yes, she's British, but I got a visa on the basis of my children.
I understand. So you've done 5 years of legal stay already, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.5 and 2.5, and you've got the extension coming up in September. Are you employed or self-employed at the moment?
Before that, I'm self-employed, but I got job in May. This is permanent job now.
You see, what you need to do, brother, is go back into the 5-year route. But to go back into the 5-year route, you have to meet the financial requirement of 18,600.
Okay.
I don't know whether you're going to be able to do that or not. That's the problem.
If I cross, basically, I think they need 6 months pay slip. So if I cross 9,300, is that okay?
Yes. So potentially you can do it. Potentially. Now I'm just looking at when you started work: May, June, July, August, September. Will you?
I start 2nd May is my first day permanent job. Before that, I'm working same company, but I have on the contract base. But now I got permanent job here.
So before, were you self-employed or were you employed before?
Yeah, before that I was self-employed. This year I will show my self-employed because it's mixed. Sometime I work with the company, sometime I work.
All right, okay. So, your self-employed income, April to April, have you earned more than 18,600 from self-employment?
Last year, it's approximately meet that, but because this year starts now from April, and I got job in May. So if I need 6 months pay slip, so I think it's close to 10,000. Okay,
all right. Look. The main thing is you have to meet the financial requirement, because you need to move back into the 5-year route. So if you meet the financial requirement, and you will need to get some advice on this, if you meet the financial requirement and you pass the English test, your English is very good, just do the B1 test and move into the 5-year route. The reason I'm saying that is if you move into the 5-year route, there will come a time, hopefully in a year's time, when you will be able to apply for indefinite leave to remain. There should be a rule which governs that shortly. But the point at the moment is you need to move into the 5-year route. We're taking a short break. I'll explain this in greater detail after we're back. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. As always, you can also send us a message on the mobile number which is there. Now, just before the break, we had a caller who raised an interesting question. Somebody who is on the 10-year route to settlement. Somebody whose partner is British, who is on this 10-year route to settlement, and looking at how he could obtain indefinite leave to remain more quickly. And he was asking whether the new rules that people have talked about, what they say in terms of being able to obtain indefinite leave to remain quickly without completing the 10 years. So currently he is on the 10-year route. He has completed 5 years already. So what we're looking at, whether that can be shortened. So instead of waiting 10 years to get indefinite leave to remain, having done 5 years already, is there a way to shorten it? Now, in April, May time, there was a lot of talk about a new rule being introduced whereby the time to get indefinite leave to remain would be cut. Now, as far as I'm aware, that hasn't come in yet. It is likely to come in. A lot of changes have come in surrounding children and how they can obtain indefinite leave to remain more quickly if they're not British, if they don't have leave to remain, if they're overstayers, etc. So a lot of changes have come in on that front. But in terms of somebody like the situation that our viewer is in, who is on this 10-year route, who's completed 5-year routes, what's the first thing they should do? The first thing they should do is try to get back into the 5-year route. And that requires not only the English requirement to be fulfilled, but the financial requirement to be fulfilled. Because once you're in the 5-year route, it's going to hopefully be easier to get indefinite leave to remain. We've got another caller who's waiting. Let me just go to that next caller. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Sir.
Hello.
Welcome, sir.
Walaikum salam, Jibay. Thank you for calling.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yep.
We are renting, and our landlord, he has a carpet. We did have a bed bugs and this kind of stuff, but his carpet is nearly 10 years old.
Right, okay.
Keep asking him to change, but he's refusing to change.
Okay, all right.
Can we do?
So how long have you been renting for?
It's 8 months.
8 months or so. All right, okay. See, the issue is generally there's no obligation on a landlord to change the decor or to give new furniture or carpets. It's just a question of, from a health and safety perspective, whether it's okay or not. So if I give an example, a cupboard might be a better example. There's no obligation on a landlord to replace an old cupboard with a new cupboard. So there might be some ancient furniture there, which is 10, 15 years old, but it's functioning, it's fine, it's not a danger, there's no health and safety risk. So the landlord is under no obligation to change that. Now, carpet may be in a slightly different situation, but as long as it's safe, there wouldn't be an obligation on the landlord to change that. If there's an issue about health and safety, etc., then obviously that's different. But the problem is, just because something is old wouldn't impose an obligation on a landlord to replace that furniture, that carpet. Now, from a practical point of view, you could, keep on asking your landlord to change it. You could say to your landlord, we'll have to find alternative accommodation if you don't do it. If you think that the property is not habitable, I don't think we're at that stage yet, but if it's not habitable, you could report the matter to the council as well. But the problem is generally, because something is old, doesn't impose an obligation to change that.
I understand.
How's the property in all other respects? It's not damp, is it okay, or?
The property is okay, but like I said, because there were bed bugs, so he treated bed bugs 2 times. I mean, there are spray and the powder spreading. One from private, but still there are bed bugs.
Okay.
It's because of carpet. Maybe under there are laid eggs, or this kind of stuff.
Okay, all right, okay. I mean, that might give you it's not then a question of it being old, it's more a question of whether it's fit for human habitation or not, whether the property is fit or not. I think that's more the question. He's got to make the property fit for you to live in there. So I think it's not a question of the carpet being old, it's more a question of whether it's fit for you and your family to occupy the property or not. And I think, have you contacted your local council about that at all or not?
I haven't spoken to the council yet. I didn't know what's the procedure or what.
So there is an obligation, not, as I was trying to explain, not to replace an old item with new, but what you've got is a slightly different situation where there's an issue about whether it's fit for you to occupy or fit for the property to be occupied by you or not. And if the landlord isn't taking this seriously, you could see whether the council is prepared to look at this or not. That's the way I would tackle it. And maybe speak to the Citizens Advice Bureau. They normally have more experience in dealing with properties which are unfit for occupation. So personally, if the landlord isn't budging, what I would do is, instead of speaking to a lawyer, I would speak to the Citizens Advice Bureau. They may help you write a letter, or they might signpost you to the local council, who might be able to inspect the property as well. So this is probably a good issue to raise with your local Citizens Advice Bureau or your local law centre. It's not an issue about changing something which is old. It's more an issue about whether the property is fit enough for you to live in there.
Right, okay, I understand.
Okay, but that's the way I would raise it. Don't mention it's an old carpet. Mention the issue with the property, with the bugs, etc. I think that's the way I would deal with it. Citizens Advice Bureau, Law Centre, they might ask you to speak to somebody in the council. But if your landlord isn't budging, you can actually speak to the Citizens Advice Bureau, Law Centre on the phone. They have a helpline number. You might have to wait a bit, but they are normally best placed to advise on these kind of housing disrepair cases.
That's fine. I will try it this way then.
Okay, brother. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Housing disrepair can be an issue. Properties do need to be fit for families to occupy. You might have a situation where there's damp in the property, there's other issues with the property which makes it unfit for you, for your family to live there. And
cute.
And the landlord is under an obligation to make sure that the property is fit for you to be able to occupy the property. So normally my view is speak to the law centre, speak to your local Citizens Advice Bureau. They may ask you to contact the council, but normally that's the best way to approach it. Thank you very much indeed for your call. Now, just before the break, we were looking at the issue relating to visitor visas and what the question was in relation to the visitor visa. I'm just having a quick look at it here. Was how do you strengthen a visitor visa application? It's the mum who wants to apply for a visitor visa. How do you strengthen the visitor visa application? Now, the issue is that, first of all, you need to bear in mind that there are certain things that the Home Office will look at when considering a visitor application. And when they're looking at a visitor application, they're looking at your ties with your home country. So they are looking at your family circumstances, your financial circumstances, your assets in that home country. So there are a number of different things that they're looking at when they're trying to judge whether a visit visa should be granted or not. Now, it shouldn't be like this, but in reality, what they're looking at is if your mum, in this case, lives in reasonably comfortable financial circumstances, it's going to be more likely for the visa to be granted. So finances is always a key issue. What's the person who's applying for a visitor visa, what's their income? Do they have employment income? Do they have rental income? Do they have income from self-employment? So that's normally the starting point. And what I always advise is that, look, whatever the income is, explain it as it is. Don't exaggerate it, because The moment there is a problem, a hole in the paperwork that you are submitting, they'll simply say, we don't find X, Y, and Z credible, therefore we're refusing the application. So whatever you submit, it's got to be credible, plausible. The overall picture has got to make sense. Don't exaggerate your financial circumstances. So that's always one of the main issues, financial circumstances. Along with that, you're looking at connected to income is assets. Do you own your own house? Do you own land? Do you own other properties? Do you have investments? So that shows an overall financial picture from income to assets. And as I said, it shouldn't be like this, but the reality is those who are well off tend to be able to get a visitor visa more easily. Those who aren't do struggle. But there are other things that you can do to strengthen the application, such as demonstrating who's there in terms of your close family. Could be children, could be parents, etc., that you might be looking after. So there are quite a few things that you can do to make a visitor application quite strong. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the show. Inshallah, we'll be back next week at the same time, and we can look at these issues in greater detail then. Till then, Assalamu alaikum.